We're
Now,
recording.
let me preface this by saying, as we go through this, and it sounds real dire and everything else, folks, nothing may happen. Okay? I've called things in the past and they have not happened uh, exactly as I stated. I'll just say it that way. What I'm trying to do is give everybody a heads up about what potentially could happen. Okay. And if everybody will wait till the end, then we'll address all the questions at once. And I'm looking forward to your questions. But please, right there, and if you have your study guide, look at the very first picture. That is the picture of the lunar eclipse of March 3rd, 2026. What makes the lunar eclipse important? We've talked about this last time. I think that was in the spring of this year, 2025, talking about the upcoming uh, super cycle that would occur from August through November. Now, also remember that let's see, at the end of November, no, I'm sorry, around November 4th, I sent out an update telling everyone that because of the solar cycle 25, there is no let up in that previous cycle. In fact, if it's done anything, it's actually increased. So now we're getting ready to go into another cycle around well, we'll talk about it later, but later this month in December, that will build upon that cycle. All right. So if you will look at that picture of the lunar eclipse, you will see there's a big dark blue or purple area. I don't know what you want to call it. And there's some land masses that are orange. On the right is Alaska and the U.S. West Coast. On the left is Yakutsk or Kursk, part of Siberia in the Russian Federation. And then if you'll look real closely, just beneath that landmass, you'll see most all of the islands of Japan are included. Okay. Then as you come down, you see a portion of what New Guinea, eastern, the coastal area of Australia, New Zealand, New Caledonia, that whole area there in the Philippines, that area. They are all impacted in this next cycle, all the way down to, and this is the lunar eclipse only, all the way down to Antarctica. Okay. Which is very important. The fact that Antarctica is affected by the lunar cycle right off the bat. Now, first comes the solar eclipse, then comes the lunar eclipse. But we're going to look at that lunar cycle first because it tells us who or where to watch for the greatest impact of any cycle. Okay. Now, look at the orange areas and look to the right and the left of those orange areas. You'll see a band of purple. The one on the right hand side is P1, the one on the left hand side is P4. That is the next area of the most intense portion of the lunar cycle. Well, the lunar eclipse is only for a day, right? That's correct. But It has the ability to shift tides, shift land masses, things of that nature, and that is an ongoing process. All right. So even though the eclipse only happens one day, it focuses energy into an area that will reverberate. Let's put it that way. All this is built upon frequencies. And if you remember, I sent you out a number of years ago and several times since the colors of the covenants, the names of the covenants, and the resonant frequencies involved in Jehovah's covenants. Most people don't realize there's a frequency associated with Yah's covenants. And those covenants can either, with their frequency, can either heal or destroy. Okay? So I'm just giving you a heads up for those of you that have, over the years, you've seen this study guide that I've sent out about the covenants. Okay? Now, if you would, look just below that at the next picture. This is called the Ring of Fire. Do you notice anything about the two pictures? They really, really look a lot alike, don't they? And remember, I mentioned that the moon, now you have to remember, when you have a lunar cycle, you have the moon on one side of the earth and the sun on the other. So you have two dynamic forces, the sun and the moon, pulling upon the crust of the earth. Okay? So you get a reaction on the earth's crust. I mentioned to you last cycle that it was going to be a very chaotic cycle, but that it was also going to involve tectonics and volcanology. Okay, we were going to see an increase in earthquakes and probably see an increase in volcanic eruptions. We have. Okay, so, but you know, even a blind hog can find an acre now and then. So it's not that I got it right. I just kind of hit in the same ballpark. If you look at the next page of your study guide, you'll see a picture of this eclipse. You'll see how the earth is in between two dynamic forces, the sun on the outside and the moon on the inside, both pulling against the surface of the earth. Okay? So it should give you a good visual idea of what's going on. Let me see if I can do that, Glenn. Mark, just a moment.
Sorry, I didn't want to disrupt you. I was hoping someone else would see it
Okay,
while we were rolling.
let me see if I can send a request to Pam. Okay, let's go back. See if we can get this done. And
Yes, I see it now.
okay. So when the moon is at perigee, this is called a supermoon. When it's over here at apogee, this is informally called a micromoon. Okay. So you have a super moon over here and a micro moon over here. Super moons have a much greater effect on the tides. It affects bodies of water. It doesn't have to be an ocean, it can be a lake, but bodies of water are affected. And the brain of a human being is supposed to be between 73 and 80% water. Now, that's, I said supposed to be, because, there's some men that have a little less than 73%. And then there's some that have a lot less, and I call those liberals. And the ones that have almost none, I call liberal politicians. And so, anyway, uh, that's just almost powder dry. So there's not much effect of the moon on their brain because it's always wacky. But remember, the Earth in the direct line of the moon is affected by a supercycle, and men are directly affected 4 times more often, or more often than women. Why? Because from the time of menarche, a woman feels the effect of the moon on her body. Okay, men don't understand that, but women begin to learn to live with it. Okay, until the time of menopause, which could be a number of years later, when the effect of the moon on the woman's body is greatly reduced, she is already, should we say, familiar with the effect of the moon. So after menopause, when the effect is not as great as it has been in the past, she is more comfortable with it. Whereas men still have no frame of reference. We don't know why yet, but on the other side of the coin, women are affected 7 to 8 times more by solar activity than men are. I would speculate and say maybe because men are outside more, but in today's society, I don't think that's true. But whatever the reason, men are less affected by CMEs, solar flares, solar winds, things of that nature than women are. Women are affected 8 times more than men. Okay, this is talking about the lunar eclipse. Let's go to the solar eclipse. And here you can see, kinda, sorta, this is the government's way of doing things. The solar eclipse is here at Antarctica. That's the #1 landmass being affected. You see the lines as they radiate out. They go to Madagascar and they go up into Southeast Africa. As far up, it looks like as far up as Kenya, and then coming down into South Africa, the Republic of South Africa, the nation. Then, if you look over here in this area, it affects a little bit of Chile right here on the very bottom, and a little bit of Argentina, the Falkland Islands, and a few other islands in this area. Primarily, it affects Antarctica. So I used to always just say, well, no big deal. There's not a lot going on down there, so it's not going to affect people very much. 2018 changed my mind about this. I call this a bottom-up eclipse. This is a solar eclipse. It's from the bottom pointing up the globe. In 2018, I learned the secret behind the bottom up and the top down. They are universal eclipses. They affect the whole world. I didn't see that at first. I do now. And that helped me in my study for what took place in 2018, 2019, 2020, and following. Okay. And so we have two important dates. The 17th of February, 2026, very important. That's the solar eclipse. That is this bottom up eclipse that's going to affect the whole world, except for the very top, Okay. And then, of course, if you believe in the flat earth, then you're screwed. Okay. I mean, it just affects the whole world. But anyway, that's another thing altogether. The lunar eclipse is 3/3/2026, March 3rd, 2026. So remember, go back to the study guide I gave you the last time. To find the midpoint, the most powerful part of the cycle, you have to go to the point in between those two eclipses. It's going to be 2 weeks. Okay, it's going to be right at 14 days. Do the math right there. 28 days in February, 17 and 11 is 28, and 3 more days, 14. Okay, 11 and 3 equals 14. It's going to come out to 14 plus a little bit, or 14 minus a little bit as far as hours go. But it's going to be right around 14. The midpoint of this cycle is 02/24/2026. 02/24/2022 was the day that Russia invaded Ukraine. And in 2021, on Brother Joe's, I can't remember if Brother Mark was with us then or not, on Joe's show, I pointed out that I saw Russia going to war with Ukraine. He says, I don't see it. They didn't go to war. But the very next cycle, I said, okay, this once again saying that Russia's going to go to war with Ukraine. And he said to me, but there's nothing going on in Ukraine. I said, there is for Russia. Okay. And basically at the midpoint, Russia invaded Ukraine. That was also when Vaughn was in the hospital. We almost lost her. So now we have a midpoint. So from that midpoint, we go backward in time to our present and forward in time to our future. So if we go from February 24th, we go back toward where we are in our present, we arrive at January 13th, 2026. Theoretically, this should be the start point of the cycle. However, that's not exactly true. I always go to the prior, if it's in the middle of a lunar cycle, which it is, I go to the previous conjunction. Okay. So instead of being January 13th, which is day 24 of that month, lunar month, not calendar month, lunar month, it will go back to December 20th of 2025. And I put in there, ho, ho, ho. Why? Because I've seen this pattern before. It occurred in 2018. That's when I got the idea of what was going on with the bottom up, top down eclipse. Okay, let's put that on back burner for right now. So let's go from the midpoint, the 24th of February. Let's go forward in time. And where do we arrive? April 7th, 2026. But the next conjunction, you see, as you're going into the conjunction, the power of the cycle is supposed to be reducing. But because solar cycle 25 just absolutely refuses to go softly into the night, quietly into the night, I would not say that it's going to end at that period of time. We'll have to watch the sun to see what's going on with the sun. If it continues what it's doing right now, the cycle is going to continue on after the end date. Okay. The next conjunction after April 7th is April 17th. April at this point in time is month 2 of Jehovah's calendar. You have to go back to April, early April, 2nd and 3rd and 4th. That's going to be Pesach, unleavened bread, and the beginning of the Omer count. Within this same cycle, when I mentioned that to Vaughn, her immediate response was, I think this is when we're going to have to flee. That was the first thing out of her mouth. Okay. So, anyway, she's been around me enough calculating cycles. She knows what's going on. She does. Okay. So, what do I think that this cycle portends? I believe it's going to be a very messy financial cycle. Very messy. Now, one of the best ways, if you're an international banker, one of the best ways to make money is for war to happen. So you could have a war and banks are going to make lots and lots, international banks are going to make lots and lots of money. Okay. But I see this primarily as a financial cycle all the way through the end of, I'm going to call it basically April 17th. Because after that, I don't know. We'll have to watch and see. After that, from April 17th going into the summer, I believe that we're going to see a much higher probability of war as a result of what happens because of this cycle. That's just from having stared at these things over and over again, you kind of build up an idea of what might happen. Okay. If we go back to where I talked about December 20th, up at the top of the page here. I saw this in 2018 and I saw it coming up. I warned everybody, I think in the summer of 2018. I did so on another website that I have no control over. I left it as a comment on usawatchdog.com during the summer that there would be a Christmas crash and a New Year's jump. That's what it looked like based upon the cycle. This is the same type cycle, but you might get a Christmas jump, a New Year's crash, or vice versa. Okay, it could be a Christmas crash, New Year's jump, or a Christmas jump, New Year's crash. We'll just have to wait and see. Or it may be nothing at all. It may not be anything. Everybody may just have a bunch of milk and cookies and everything's fine. Okay? The feast days, April 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 2026. In the past, feast days. And I think the latest date that we had a confirmation of was October 7th. Feast days tend to indicate war, destruction, calamity, physical calamity. I think it was Passover 2 years ago, 3 years ago. A ship ran into the bridge in Baltimore and collapsed the bridge and shut down the busiest port in America, Baltimore Harbor. Okay. I put in my little disclaimer there. This is just speculation of a retired farmer in Southeast Texas. You know, men like Charles Nenner and Martin Armstrong are so accurate, they charge for what they see coming in the future. I wouldn't charge you anyway if I saw it. And I wouldn't bet a penny on it, even if I was as accurate as they are, because the financial markets are rigged anyway. But I'm doing this to give everybody a heads up about what could potentially come our way between today and, let's just say, April 17th. Now, if you'll go back to what we talked about, I can't remember if it was April, May, June, whenever I did that initial cycle teaching, where I showed you how to look at the cycle and break it down. I told you that the cycle that was coming up appeared to be affecting Germany and Japan. I still believe that Japan is what we're talking about. I believe that the Japanese bond market is basically going to go in the toilet. That's going to crash Germany. Germany's going to crash the EU, and the EU could crash the United States financially. Well, if the EU crashes, Japan crashes. Now, let me take Japan off. Let me take Japan off of the ledger here. If the EU crashes and the United States crashes, what's Russia and China going to do? There's an old maxim of war that says, never interrupt your enemy when he's busy destroying himself. They're going to sit back, sip tea and vodka, and just probably play a chess game and see who will win between Putin and Xi. I don't know. But they're not going to do anything until the dust settles. After that, they're going to have all the negotiating power in the world. Or maybe nothing will happen. I want to reiterate that over and over again. You know, or maybe nothing will happen. I'm not a prophet. I'm no predictor of things to come. All I do is share with you what I see in these cycles. Sometimes I get them right, and sometimes I get them wrong. Or sometimes I get them halfway right, whatever. What I'm encouraging you to do, to open your eyes physically, emotionally, above all spiritually. Did I say spiritually? Spiritually. And look at what Yah is revealing to us. Be careful. This is not a time to get crazy financially or anything else. I know I've been saying that over and over, but right now, as I've been showing you through the articles and through the studies and things that are coming out, when you have this much stress upon the human body and brain, you don't make snap decisions unless they're life threatening and you've got to move now. So think everything through. And I would add with prayer and fasting. Okay. And take your nose out of the phone. You don't need to look at it 24/7. In fact, you don't need to look at it very much at all. Look at the sky. Remember what Yeshua told the Pharisees? You see a red sky in the evening, you know that there's trouble in the morning or trouble in the morrow. People don't even know what color the sunset was, or if there was even a visible sunset because there was too much overcast, as far as clouds and stuff. There are many, many things going on. We have talked about the dark star. Okay. We've talked about 3i Atlas, which I haven't kept track of it. I don't know what it's doing, but it's out there probably playing with the electromagnetic field of Earth and other planets. But above all, you've got to keep your heart and mind and spirit focused on Yah's word. Okay. We're going to hit Mark 13. Hopefully, we'll do that this coming Erev Shabbat. And it's going to tell us, hey, all these things are going to come to pass, but the end is not yet. Just like it says in Matthew 24, just like it says in Luke 21. All these things have to come to pass. But that's not the end. That's just a warm up for the main event. So please, this is not a time to be fearful. Lo ira. No fear, folks. Keep your heart, mind, and spirit focused on Yah, His word, which you know who His word is, His Son. Okay? So hopefully, I've given you enough to think about, but not enough to scare you to death because I don't want to scare anybody. Okay? Rebecca.
I was just going to say that Martin Armstrong has said many, many times over the last 6 months that um, Europe is toast. And because of that, all the money, the wealth is going to move to the United States. So
That's
while
correct.
Europe will be in a depression, we will be in a recession because even though things will be bad here, they won't be as bad as they will be in Europe.
I agree with that. Yes.
Okay, thank
I
you.
don't have the oomph that Martin Armstrong or Charles Nenner do, but I agree with that.
Well, he's got Socrates. He says
Yeah,
Socrates is always right.
yeah. And I've got pen and paper.
Well, you do pretty good with pen and paper.
Yeah, thank you for that.
I I I'm new to gardening. I mean, I haven't really gardened that much, but I decided with everything coming, I was going to get all my garden seeds ordered early and order my berry bushes early. And so the past week I have done that. And I tell you what, everybody else is too, because
Really?
so much of what I wanted is sold out.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I
important information.
I think people are paying attention and preparing.
I think so. Yes, I do too. Miss Pam,
Well, I'm glad to know people are paying attention. But by the same token, it may also be that there are just things are in short supply because a lot of growers this year had trouble with their plantings. But Rebecca, if you want, I've got extra seeds. I'd be happy to share. Might not be every variety and as much as you want, but as much as I can share with other people, I will. And just one thing I'm going to add to what Cyrus has told us is Matthew 24, verse 38. If you haven't been with us before, Cyrus has shown us that where it says they will be eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, the word that got translated as they is in actuality ba'alim nashim. And it does not mean
that's correct.
they, it means gods and women, the fallen
That's
angels
correct.
and women. And they brought forth giants. So I'm not trying to scare anybody.
Say that again. Who will be eating and drinking?
You want to explain it, Cyrus?
Yeah, let me type it into the chat, if you will. Um,
Thank you.
Anyway,
Thank you.
Rebecca and everybody, let's not be scared. I've been
I'm
trying to
not.
get my head around the fact that we may be seeing giants at some point. And that's not going to keep me from going about and doing my daily stuff, at least not for a while. But let's
Well,
think
you know,
what these possibilities are and how are we going to handle it? That's all. Go on, Rebecca.
trying to come to the conclusion that we may not necessarily see giants, but we will see genetically altered people. And I
yeah,
think I met some of those several years back. So I don't know, but either way, I'm with you, Pam. I expect to see things that are pretty crazy. And I want to thank you for your kind offer. I did go to less well known seed companies and find what I needed, except for potatoes. But anyway, thank you.
okay. Holly, the date was April 2nd, 2026.
Thank you.
That, yeah. Now let me go back and make sure I'm telling you right. Let me go back and look at this. April 2nd should be, it should be Passover. Yes, April 2nd. Passover, April 2nd, unleavened bread, April 3rd, and the beginning the count of the Omer, April 4th. Okay, Sonia.
Um, the first thing I just want to let you guys know is that you guys are talking about gardening and that sort of thing. What you may or may not know is that because of that bee parasite that's in the world, Australia was actually the only country left that did not have that parasite. And we were exporting trillions of bees to the United States to keep your bee colonies alive. Well, that parasite has now come to our shores. and it's spread to 5 states now. It's only been released in the last 5 days that I've heard this. So it could end up that we won't have any bees to actually export to you guys. And we have been exporting like so many bees, it's ridiculous. So the reason that your bee colonies actually fell by 80%, and you only have 20% left of what your bees were originally. And the only reason it's been kept up is because we've been supplying you with bees, but we might not be able to do that for very much longer. So that parasite now is worldwide, and it's going to be devastating because there'll be no pollinators for the crops. So anyway, you might end up needing to hand pollinate. I'm just letting you know, potentially that might end up needing to be done. Anyway, I thought I'd share that. And the other thing was that the sort of the date around the Western Warren Dark Star was around the 13th of February next year coming up. So it's a progression, but it's sort of January, February, March, but around the 13th of February is the high point, I think. So anyway, thought I'd share that.
If the mite that is the parasite that's causing so much trouble, to put it in perspective, it is the same dynamic at work. If you walked around all day long with a 15-pound house cat on your back, okay, just to give you an idea of how big this mite is, to a honeybee would be like a 15-pound house cat on your back all day long, every day, all night long, every night, living off of you. Rebecca?
I wanted to ask you about the picture of the study guide. Is the dark blue, the most intense area, or is the red the most intense?
The red is just the landmass within the dark blue.
Okay,
The
thank you.
dark blue is the most intense area, but the land masses are illustrated in red, so they'll stand out better.
Thank you.
I put a line in here, I'm pretty sure I did. Let me go back and look. Let me revisit this. But anywhere, somewhere in here, I think I included a line that the Japanese bond market could collapse before I even present this information to you. Okay. The Japanese bond market went into a conniption. There's the only way I know how to pronounce, how to express it. The week of Thanksgiving. It's called the Japanese carry trade. That's when people buy Japanese bonds for 0%. It's a loan, basically. And then they take that money and invest it elsewhere with a higher return. And banks make money at it, and big dollar investors, I think the smallest bond you can get is $10,000, or it might be more. I'm not sure. But anyway, they use the Japanese bond as a free loan, interest-free loan, and then invest the difference. And people make billions. As of the week of Thanksgiving, that kind of started falling apart. if you checked, and most people don't have a reason to check it, but if you check Japanese bond interest rates this morning, I just happened to be up late, early or late, whatever, this morning, and a little after 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, I can't remember. Instead of being below 1%, the Japanese bond was now 1.8%. That is bad for Japan. It's also bad for the people that make money getting these interest-free loans from Japan called bonds. So as we speak, it could be that the Japanese bond market is actually crumbling right now. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. I'm not a financial guru. I mean, I drive a 1999 truck. Our newest vehicle is 2009. I mean, we do not live in the lap of luxury, but we do live in Yah's lap as far as him taking care of us. And he watches over us. He sees to our needs, and he blesses us way beyond what we could ever hope for any other way. Okay. So we don't drive a Mercedes, old or new, but we have what Yah provides, and it works beautifully for us. Okay. Brother Mark.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if I remember right, you said one time back in one of the other meetings that we were in with you, you had talked about some of the wealthier elite were moving to or putting money, either moving to or putting money down in New Zealand.
Yes.
And I see that New Zealand is right in the smack middle of your dark area, even more than Japan is.
How
So,
about that?
and of course, you've got lots of volcanic activity on New Zealand. So I'm wondering, what does this cycle have effects on? You say, you were talking about how it moves the things in bodies and the things, the water and stuff. Could it have effects on volcanic activity?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely. Definitely. That's something Vaughn and I were talking about earlier about Mountain Home, Arkansas, is the mountains are granite mountains. Okay. Granite being a very old volcanic rock that is cooled to the point that it is stable. It's very hard and it's very stable. So that's why there are, I would just say, hundreds upon hundreds of miles of tunnels underneath the mountains of Arkansas. That is why the continuity of government is in Arkansas. And that's why the world's largest banks are in Arkansas. I was talking to someone earlier that it takes 500 customers to support a bank. But in Mountain Home, Arkansas, there's a major bank for every 50 people. And I mean a major bank. JP Morgan, Chase Manhattan, all of these huge mega banks are located in Mountain Home, Arkansas. Okay. Sonia.
Just to add to that, Brother Mark, that's why I put the link in there with the dark star information. So Weston Warren talked about this dark star that's entering our near Earth and the solar system and that. And this dark star is affecting the Earth, and it's actually heating up the internal core of the Earth. And so it's actually it's affecting volcanic and earthquake activity. It will be at its peak around this time that Cyrus is talking about. So about the 13th of February is the closest this dark star is going to be to the Earth. in conjunction with the other planets being on the other side of the sun, so not giving any protection. So apparently Jupiter was providing some sort of protection from this dark star, but Jupiter is well and truly out of the picture at this point. So, and also the other planets that, so basically Earth is really exposed by itself to the influences of the dark star around sort of January, February, March, with the peak being around the 13th of February ish. And he said that we're going to see a massive increase in, well, he believes a big increase in volcanic and earthquake activity, especially around the Ring of Fire, which is why when I saw Cyrus's post, I went, oh my gosh, that's exactly what he's talking about. And that's exactly what the Western Warren was talking about. And I've posted one link. There's actually 3 videos, but that's the second video. If you want to go back and watch the others, they're on Greg Hunter's USA Watchdog channel on Rumble.
Okay. Somebody else had their hand up. Who was that?
Summer.
Summer. Okay.
I was just giving a thumbs up to what she was saying.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Pam.
One more piece of the puzzle, y'all. Weston Warren talking about the black star. It is not a star and it's not really black, but that's the name that was foisted upon it. It has passed close to the Earth or come this direction before, but there have always been other planets to buffer the effects of the gravitational pull on our Earth. One of the times it came through was, oh gosh, was that 2003?
2004 when they had the tsunami.
Yeah, the tsunami in
Indonesian
Indonesia.
tsunami. Yeah.
Yeah.
250,000 people at least died. Yes.
And that's when we had planets on this side of our solar system to buffer Earth from the effects. Again, don't be scared. Be prepared spiritually, like Cyrus said. If we have to flee, we got to have the scriptures in our head if we don't have time to grab ours to take with us. So now's the time to start. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, yeah, I keep telling people to do that and I keep forgetting myself. So y'all, spiritual preparation first, and then the others will follow.
Absolutely. Well, it was really nice seeing everybody here this evening.
Indeed.
I hope everybody got a little bit of something from it. Like
Absolutely.
I said, sir, say again, Mark.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. As far as things go, nothing may happen. Okay. Please, that's always the option. Nothing may happen. What I'm telling you is based upon my limited 20 something, 22 years of looking at cycles. I've seen cycles that correspond to cycles like this, and I've seen some of these things take place. Okay. So, with that said, do you run screaming through the streets tonight? No, no. You might want to try getting on your knees and asking y'all for guidance. That might be a good place to start with. Because of what we talked about yesterday relative to the Kahal, I was just unable to pray. I couldn't. And yes, we started at 5 Central. Yeah. It wasn't that I was worried or stressed over what was happening. It's just like there was a block that it's like my heart wouldn't let me pray because my heart and my spirit weren't in it. And so it wasn't until I think it was Shabbat maybe, or maybe I know we got here after the the teaching on Erev Shabbat, but maybe it was just the fact, just being back with the Kahal, that gave me the the window, I guess you would say, to pray again. And my prayer, first and foremost, was for the Kahal. Because we weathered a storm, okay? We weathered a storm. And I think all of us have learned a lesson. I know I have. And so I now feel like I'm able to pray enthusiastically, let me say it that way, wholeheartedly. Whereas for a better part of a week, or maybe even a little over a week, I couldn't pray. And now I feel so much better about it. Having said that, that's always your first and foremost weapon to use in any crisis is prayer. That's the most we can do, not the least. And so use that weapon. Get on your knees. If you have to, get you some, go to Lowe's, Home Depot, Harbor Freight, buy you some knee pads and get on your knees. And get you a walker or something so you can get up, whatever you need to do. But yeah, or a thick blanket, that'll work. I can still put one knee to the ground pretty easily. So here it is. We have a lot of things ahead of us. If nothing that I said tonight happens, which I hope it doesn't, I'd rather be wrong than have friends and family hurt if I was right. So I hope that nothing happens out of the ordinary. We should keep our hearts and minds prepared and our spirit prepared in prayer, because we haven't seen anything yet. Okay, when I mentioned in 2021 about the war with Ukraine, I made the comment that this would be the beginning of World War III. I still believe that. Because it's not just Russia against Ukraine, it's NATO against Russia and China and North Korea and Iran, with Ukraine being backed by NATO and the European Union. And so we really are at a proxy war, in a proxy war, basically around the world. And proxy world wars are probably going to increase in the coming days, weeks, months, whatever years, because fighting direct wars between superpowers is too dangerous. So please be alert, be in the spirit, be calm. Okay, be calm. When you're in the spirit, you can be calm. When nobody else around you is calm. Use the power of the spirit to be at ease when everything else is going crazy around you. This should be a time of spiritual growth, not a period of time of falling away. Let those who have their paradigm shattered because they were taught false doctrine about being raptured out or this happening or that happening, their whole world's going to collapse. Their spiritual world is going to collapse when they realize, oh my gosh, we're in the middle of the tribulation and nothing's happened yet. You can tap them on the shoulder. Would you like to know why? Please, folks, we need to have the spiritual maturity to help others during this time of crisis. Okay? So if there aren't any more questions or comments, okay, Pam?
Ephesians chapter 6, y'all. Starting about verse 12.
18. Oh, 12 to 18, yeah.
Yeah. Read it. I typed it up and fleshed it out. What each one of those things, pieces of armor means to me. Read it every morning. Get your day off on the good foot. That's all.
And Paul got that, by the way, from the book of Hokmah, the book of wisdom, okay, in the Apocrypha. It came out about 200 years before Shaul wrote his. So anyway. All right. If that's it, let me go ahead and read the blessing and we'll call it a night. And Jehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to Aharon and his sons, saying, this is how you bless the children of Israel. Say to them, Jehovah bless you and guard you. Jehovah make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. Jehovah lift up his face upon you and give you shalom. Thus they shall put my name on the children of Israel, and I myself shall bless them. Amen.
Amen.
Pam, you can go ahead and stop the recording if you like.